Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Board of Selectmen's meeting for Monday, November 18th. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, going to take a couple quick things out of order on the agenda. I would like to talk about the reestablishment of the senior abatement program. Gene, if you'd like to come up. Hello. How are you? Can you grab one of the mics? Don't mind.
Yes.
I know that there's been discussion through, through the Finance Committee, and we've also discussed it up here about reestablishing the abatement program. I don't want to call it the senior abatement program anymore because it does include veterans now as well. So, so we're just, I guess we're pretty close to wanting to do that. Is it on the? It's on our agenda for tomorrow night at the meeting to fund
No.
it? Oh, it would be for next year then?
No. Anything you did this year would have to be funded out of next year's.
Okay.
It is managed out of the Selectmen's office, of course. So I don't know if you may want to consider waiting until you have a town administrator in force.
At one point, did you, who handled it in the very beginning?
In the very beginning?
Well, did you do it for a while?
I actually brought it in when I was a selectman. I
Yeah.
established the program
Okay.
because I had seen it working in a couple of other towns. But it was always administered out of the selectman's office. Now, the technical part of it, a few other people do, basically, I took care of that. And when Dale was here, I managed the technical end of it, but all of the decisions and conditions were set by the selectman's office.
Okay, so if there was an approval that needed to be taken place for it.
Yes.
Okay, so if we could handle if you wouldn't mind handling the technical end of it again, I would be in favor of putting it back into place, as
There's one
as soon
major
as
change
possible.
to it this year.
But again, hold on, let me just finish my thought so I don't forget. And then from the selectman's office, we can, any approvals that need to take place, we could delegate one of the members of the board to okay these, so we don't have to wait for a meeting to get an okay or something like that.
Right.
So we could just move in that direction. I don't know that there would be any major concerns where we would deny much, but.
Basically, what I did is people would send in a request to me. And I would see to it that most of the seniors who were capable and available to work got hours.
Okay,
It didn't just center around just a few.
yep,
And it also had to be for reasons outside of a person's normal working. Like, if it's part of your regular job, you don't have a senior come in and do it. So mainly the people were used for vacations, if someone was out sick.
right.
For a lengthy amount of time.
Oh, right, they're not in as
And
an
special
assistant.
projects.
Yep,
The change, however, this year is a little drastic in that the IRS is more or less demanding that these people be taxed. They want the towns to withhold federal income tax, Medicare, and they're probably, if treated like employees, would have to be into the deferred comp group.
So, we
not as
probably
easy
need
to
to,
administer as it was before.
no, we probably need to kind of, do we need, get some clarification on, that last statement, if they're considered an employee, right?
This IGR I got basically explains that we have to start with the federal Medicare taxes. We're not quite sure if they can be treated as independent contractors or if they have to be considered employees. We're kind of thinking it's more the employee thing.
So how do we, in what sense,
Right.
so they have to pay out of pocket?
We would have to deduct from whatever amount they make, the federal income tax and the Medicare and whatever else has to be done with that. And then the net amount is reported to me, and I put that on their tax bills. What we're not quite sure about is how this happens without cutting them a check, and that's strictly for Claudia and Linda to have to, you know.
Cutting who the check?
Claudia's trying to contact a couple of town accountants
The
in other
employee?
towns.
Meaning the,
Meaning the senior person.
Senior.
You're not going to cut them a check and put it on their tax bill. So there must be somehow of us treating them like an employee, not giving them a check, but putting it on the tax bill. You know,
Cutting a
deducting
check to the
It's like a
IRS.
book entry type of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
and we would actually be cutting the check to the IRS.
I would say so, yes, we'd have to include it in
So
our regular taxes.
we got to figure out what the operational aspects of this
Right.
new change needs
Right.
to be.
So Claudia's, you know, there's a few other towns doing it, so
Okay.
we're trying to find out what that is. So that's just a consideration. That's also something that we're going to have enough time that we can now contact the seniors and tell them we've not only reestablished program, but it's under these new conditions. Because there might be some that say, I don't want to get involved.
So
if it has any-"
maybe the first step is to make
Let's
sure we
figure
know
this out
how
first,
this is going to
yeah.
work.
We'll
Right.
decide at the next
Right.
meeting.
One
bit
thing
more to it.
we can probably do is talk a little, I mean, from a FinCom standpoint, they're indicating about, look for $7,500
Because it would
funding
only be for half a year.
this first go-round, and then they can build
And
it
of course,
in.
that money has to be built into the overlay
Right.
account, because that's what it comes out of.
So,
Oh, do we have a motion to turn it back on, or do we just, is it just a policy decision where we just say, go ahead?
It would be well, you'd have to vote within yourselves
Then, I
to
mean,
reestablish it.
I don't know that we don't want to do it based upon the
Right, it's a great program, it
the
really is.
issue there. I would
yeah.
say that maybe let's just vote it, and we'll work out the details of how we have to, it has to function that way, and maybe we can call our congressman and complain that, what are you doing?
See, the state agrees it shouldn't be considered. And back initially, the Department of Revenue did do battle with the IRS over this, but the IRS won.
it's okay.
But the state does not charge state taxes on it because they do not consider it income.
So I think we're going to look to reinstate it with a implementation date TBD until we work out the operational.
Right.
What is,
In the meantime,
what is it officially called?
Senior Work-Off Abatement Program.
And then the veterans
Senior
are just-
citizen, well, actually,
And the veterans are just,
the IGR says Senior Citizen Property Tax Work-Off Abatement is what the.
so what about veterans? They don't have,
Can we say senior
Well, the
citizen
veterans,
and/or-
and I spoke to Ken about that a little while ago, because I wasn't really thinking about them, but I would think they're probably also going to be a tax
Taxed?
situation, so we're going to have to find that out. I'm probably going to have to call the DOR and find out about the veterans thing. It's, personally, I think it's sad, but that's my personal opinion.
I think the other thing is, do we want to just solicit where we think these resources could be allocated? I mean, there are, from past experience, they've done certain things, right? But are there any new opportunities we want to consider, especially given sort of the veteran side of it, where,
Well, you
you know,
just ask your departments what they would.
That's what I'm saying, is maybe
yeah.
we
I mean,
solicit-
we've had people, you know, in the past paint,
Yep.
like the police station, I believe, had someone come in and do some painting. We had others do landscaping. Most of the work, of course, comes in the form of office duties.
Mhm.
But, I mean,
think it'd be worth
anything
a
they're
solicitation.
capable of doing, sure, if
don't
they're
know how
willing to
happy
do
to do
that work for minimum wage.
Mr. Chairman, I move to reinstate the senior/veterans abatement program funding for a 6-month window of $7,500.
Second?
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Gene. Got an item to consider the common victual license application for Gold Medalist LLC, 25 Cape Road.
Yeah, I'm not sure I see a motion on this one. This
Should be number one.
Hey Abe, how are you?
How you doing, guys?
is a sandwich
Pretty good.
board.
What?
Sandwich board to be placed in the corner. Yeah, no, that's what it says right there. We can continue, we'll have to write another motion, I think, as we get going.
Print it.
Make some copies of this. So this is just an application for a common victual license for the new gas station on Cape Road. That's just on the street from Pop and Cork, they're now selling convenience store items in the location, or going to be selling convenience store items in the location. And just need to request a license. I don't have any concern. I've been at the facility, and everything looks fine as far as I could see.
I have no questions.
No.
But you could have stalled long enough for me to write this out.
I tried. The building is the old Westwood Lumber.
Westwood Lumber, yeah.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, I move to grant a common...
Sorry, hold on one second.
Sorry. I did do a draft motion, which I neglected to print. The fire inspector hasn't done his final inspection yet.
Okay.
So I suggest
Pending
doing it
routing
Pending
pending.
routing slip.
And I know the Board of Health wasn't going to sign off until a change of use was granted from the building department, but since I spoke to Missy, the building inspector did do an inspection and didn't have any problem with it.
Okay, just pending the routing slip then. And that way, it's all done.
I think the fire department did the inspection, but they already done it. But the fire marshal, they have to go and do the fire suppression test,
Okay.
okay? And we've been in contact with them, but they're very busy. And I think they're coming this week, by the end of the week. It's taken them like 3 weeks. That's why, it's half of it self-service, half of it full service, but we've been filling up the gas, because legally you can't do it. if
Until the
it's, yeah.
suppression system's done.
So
Okay.
just a
So
question.
that's part of the fire.
Okay.
So is that part of...
But that's for the
pub-
convenience store.
Yeah, I don't think that suppression
The
system has
convenience-
anything to do with this license.
No.
But with the fact that you want to go to self-service
Yeah.
is,
Different animal.
is different. But I just say
Okay.
pending the routing slip.
Okay.
And if we do need to get anything down there, then we'll do that.
I move to grant a common victular license for Gold Medalist LLC, 25 Cape Road, pending routing slip completion.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Abe.
Thanks a lot.
We have an update from Northeast Real Estate Solutions for the Taft Orchard, the Hopedale side of the Pheno property.
Good evening.
Good evening, guys. How we doing, all right?
Yeah, definitely.
Steve Marsden from Northeast.
And Duncan Chapman from Northeast. First, the update on the commercial retail RFP that went out. We had talked with a number of companies. It obviously was in the state register. We had no responses for proposals for the commercial retail. Talked with a number of companies about why that was, and between one major grocery store, they just felt that being on the hill, there was no traffic light there, that they would be looking to be more up at the top of the hill if and when any land opened up, as far as a grocery store would be considered.
Yeah, they said if they could be at this light at the top of the hill, they'd absolutely look at it. But down there, it just didn't make sense.
Also, obviously, the negative on the geotech of the site with all the ledge there was not helpful. No water, no sewer. So those were the main reasons that, as we inquired on why people weren't putting in, that was the feedback, so.
Okay.
Yeah, they were concerned about whether the warrants would even justify a traffic light, and without a traffic light, they didn't feel like they would get the number of stops that they would want. The way people move, if there's a traffic light, they'll turn in. If there isn't a traffic light, they keep going, so.
Okay.
Steve, you want to update on the last RFP that went out for the solar?
Yeah, we sent a second RFP out on solar. Now that the rules are being promulgated for SREC 2, they should be out within the next week or two, but wanted to get the proposal out so that people had it in their hands prior to that happening. We've already had some good response from some of the developers who requested copies. We were able to get Blackstone Valley Tech to sign a PPA for 2.4 megawatts worth of power, and that's a significant selling point for the project. So we've included that, Northeast has included that as part of the process for your RFP. It's not binding that they purchase it from Blackstone Valley, but it is available. So and everybody's very pleased about that. The circuits show that in previous applications we made, they had said there was a minimum of 3 available. The last one I did to update it, and I included in the RFP, shows that there's about 9. So the way the proposal is written, it's written for 2 and can be enlarged at the discretion of the select board. So it's written for 2 megawatts, and then if you allow it to extend larger than that, that's up to you.
The maximum that can be built on any one site, per the solar rules, are 6 megawatts on one site. So, as Steve's just said, the positive news from National Grid is that there's 8 to 9 megawatts that would be available on the circuits to be served out of the substation. Whether you decide to do more than 2 or 3, that'll be your call.
We had previously asked you, and you had approved, I know you're going to take it to town meeting for the interconnection application fee, which is $7,500. The reason that hasn't already been submitted is we were waiting for the pre-application to come in. So there's a process that you have to go through with the utility company that came in a couple weeks ago, and then we're in the process of filing that. In the RFP, it states that the town will be reimbursed up to $10,000 for that application.
So we got to talk a little bit about that. 2 fronts. One, because it's $7,500 is the amount that we've been told, and you've got another $1,500 in engineering that would need to be included in this total. Is that right?
I put $2,500 in just to cover any expenses that the town may have.
My point is, we were told $7,500, which means the warrant and the motion is $7,500 in terms of raising, appropriating.
Yeah, and that is
reallocating
the
those
actual
funds.
fee that goes
Right.
in with the application.
Is
And
that
if that's-
standalone, or do you need the additional $1,500 or $2,500 to make this whole thing work?
If that stands alone, then we'll make it work.
So you can go with $7,500 alone.
If that's what the warrant says, because that will make it work,
How are we going to make it work? Because
we'll make it work. We'll get it done. I mean, it'll just have to be paid for and reimbursed at a different date.
Is there a commitment to more than $7,500 in this process from the town's standpoint? That's the question. Whether it's now or at a future time.
There's actually no commitment from the town other than what it is you commit.
Okay.
In the
Yeah,
RFP?
I want to be very clear, because it was $7,500 for the interconnection application fee, and technically that's true. Does that do us any good without the additional $1,500 or $2,500 that I'm hearing about based on my conversation with you, Duncan?
Right. Well, we
What-
need,
what-
go ahead.
And what I'm trying to say to you, Mike, is if you've committed to $7,500 and we committed to moving forward,
Yeah.
we will get it done with $7,500. If we can't, if there is no way that you can get the additional
Northeast,
$1,500,
Okay.
we're not going to stop the process over that.
So then the question then is that this is sort of a one-time, and if it's an investment, but it's potentially, you lose it, I think, if we don't actually get somebody to jump on the solar, right?
that's correct.
Meaning that you've got a interconnection application, which is really not transferable, it's tied to that site.
That's
right?
correct.
Site to site.
Right, so if somebody were to come in and buy the land from us, and they tried to do solar, they could use that
Absolutely.
application.
And,
So-
and there'd be reimbursement tied to the sale of the site. Right.
Now, the RFQ is not binding. It's not saying we are going to do it. It says we will be reimbursed if it gets done.
How long are the interconnection, once that application's in, how long, what is the timeline on those? Are they good for a year, 5 years? Are they good forever with the site?
Currently, they're good forever, and the queue is not, queue is just filling up. As part of SREC 2, they're supposed to provide an assurance mechanism that people are still staying and are still interested and the sites are still viable. And then they were going to request an additional small fee, just so that, an administrative fee, so that you renew it every year or 2 years, depending on what the new rules come out. but we don't know yet because the new rules haven't come out yet.
And again, the director from the DOER has stated many times that they will be published in November this year. So
Okay.
we should be seeing them, within 2 weeks.
The,
And you would be spending that money until after the rules come out, so,
the 7,500, you mean?
right.
Do we already have that on the warrant?
The question is, I think there's some questions about it being sort of non-transferable, and if we don't move on solar, it's money spent without really any
Yeah, and
payback that way.
it does lock in the queue for the site, hence the town.
And that's where, I think the first time we talked about it, we said, okay, well, it gets us into queue, right? Which we want to get ahead of the curve a little bit, because I think the queue got filled up and completed and filled in that first phase, and we missed out on that. So that was the thinking, I think,
Right,
originally.
and you're actually locking down the circuits for the amount in the interconnection application. So that will.
So no one else could use those circuits
That's
unless they
correct.
work with us.
That's correct. Nobody else can be down the street, they can't be, over and jump on the
Right, so
circuit.
but that's a clarification. And the reason I'm asking these questions
Yep.
is, I'm sure there's going to be a discussion tomorrow night, and why are we
Right.
going to put $7,500 out there with the potential that it's just, spent money,
Well,
right?
again, as one war story, there was a client of ours in Blackstone that between his lawyer and the developers, they went back and forth for 4 months. Finally, they got an agreement that would work, for the developer and for the owner. And there'd been so many delays that prior to sending the check and signing the agreement, the developer found out the queue was, somebody else had jumped in front of him.
Right, so I think.
Project is terminated.
I'd say you started to say something that would probably be of importance to the discussion. So it's not tied to the Taft Orchard or the Fino property, Hopedale side, however you want to say it, per se. It's tied to the circuits that are accessed by that point, right?
That address locks down the circuits,
Right.
correct?
So,
But
well,
I think
the question
to
I-
answer your question would be that, is it any property that would touch those circuits, or that piece of
Right,
property?
so the point is, can other people
So our-
lock down those circuits if we don't?
Yes.
That now, again, I guess there's another question. That address, does that cover the land all the way to the lights, Steve? Is that all one site, or are there multiple addresses?
And in the application, I can include multiple addresses.
Gene, can you answer that question? Is the Taft property from behind my house all the way up to, is it more than one address or one address? There's 3 addresses?
Right.
So one address would be,
thought this was only talking about the piece down at the bottom.
it is, and
It
that,
is.
but that's where the question, where the question's arising, that they're asking, is it one address or multiple addresses?
It's multiple addresses
Okay.
for what we own on that side.
Okay.
Right, so again, with the interconnection application, that address will tie down the interconnection capacity that were being submitted.
Right, so.
So nobody else can then,
Sure. There's 2 questions being asked here, though. So when we put in the interconnection application, we're securing the circuits on that substation.
correct.
Correct. But they're only good for that address. We couldn't then, with that interconnection application, say, oh, we want to do it on the other side of the hill now, and move it over there. We'd have to go through another.
You'd have to do another application,
Application.
as I understand.
Unless I include all 3 addresses.
Understood, okay.
If I include all 3 addresses, that would allow you to then put it anywhere on that side of the road.
It may not be a bad idea, not that
would.
I'm saying that we want to put it on the other side of the hill, but
It gives you the option.
if we end up doing something that requires solar on roofs or something, then we have that capability.
That's correct.
So, I mean, really, the focus is to lock down the capacity that's available through that substation.
Correct.
Which could be used by another entity regardless of that address, right?
Correct. If we didn't,
My point is,
Oh, if we don't submit the interconnection application, then somebody else could put in any place on the circuit.
for instance, say,
there's no physical contiguous proximity
The gift
deal
barn.
there. It could be anybody just jumping on those circuits.
If we don't submit the
If we don't.
interconnect, that's correct.
See, that would be the
Could be-
benefit, is to lock down capacity so that nobody else, we turn around and we find out that they're at their max, right? I mean, That's the drawing point for our site. If we want solar there, the proximity to those, to that substation, those circuits, that's a selling point to a developer.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. Secondly, the one item I need, can you get me something in writing from National Grid saying that there's 8 to 9 megawatts available on that substation?
Yeah, if you look at the back, addendum, I forget, the last 2 pages of the RFP have the pre-app in it.
Does that have the pre-app response?
Yeah, it has the pre-app in it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I want something from National Grid.
That's from National Grid?
Yeah, that's just like on National Grid, yeah, from them saying,
It's in the RFP,
Oh,
from
it is?
National Grid.
from National Grid.
Yes.
Oh, I don't have a copy here. I'll look then. What, do you have one there?
Well, I have a copy of it here. This happens to be a pre-application report. Is that what you're referring to, Duncan? On page 17 and 18?
Can you bring it up if you don't mind?
Sure.
Oh, wait, I got it right here.
Is this it here? Yes. So that's an application. That's an application, pre-application report.
That's a report.
So where does it say that in here that it's 8 to 9? Just find it for me.
On a 13.8 kV site, there are 3 megawatts available. On another 13 kVA site, there's 3 megawatts available. Then there are 2 additional feeders, 13.8 there and 13.8 there, with 0 generation proposed. There's a small 154 kilowatts, probably residential, that's proposed on those additional circuits. And 0 there.
Can you guys bring that up here if you don't mind? I don't know if people at home can hear, and I'm not following, so.
So again, the document you're looking at is the pre-application.
Okay, from National Grid, right here?
Yeah, go one page before that.
This one here.
Yeah, right there. So what he's talking about is the 13.8 there.
Yep.
And that is 17
Pending.
There's 0 pending here, 13, does it say 13.8?
Yeah.
Okay, next page. And he's talking on here, there's whatever that's.
154.
And 0 over here.
Okay, so just explain,
See that, it's up in 17, 18.
just explain it to me so I know, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just because I want to make sure I understand it 100%.
So in general, in the past, the power companies have assumed that if there's no distributed generation tied into a circuit, that they can handle a minimum of 3. So on these, where there is 0
Yeah.
distributed generation, there's a minimum of 3. There could be more available, but it depends on
Okay,
the conditions of the lines and the conditions of that.
okay.
So then there's 3 here, and then you go on the next page. There are other circuits which are extendable, which we could extend to 3-phase circuits, which we could extend to, and that one has 154 kilowatts, so it has 2.8.
2.85
Right.
megawatts.
And this one here has 0, so that one has 3.
Okay, so these are here now,
Correct.
those are in the substation, and these are close enough in proximity that we could extend to those if we needed.
Correct.
And again, just with the first 2 at the substation, the max you could do on any one site would be 6 megawatts. So-
Okay, one site, meaning the substation is the site,
No,
not
the
the.
32 acres is the site.
Oh, okay. So you could only get 6, 2.7 to be, no, 2.62, right? This one's-
And plus 3.
Yeah, so, okay, so almost 6. Okay, so that makes more sense to me. Thank you, guys.
And it's a credit to National Grid. When we submitted this request for information about 6 months ago, they just said, they picked the closest line and said, oh, you've got 3 megawatts available.
Yep.
They are actually, obviously, getting better at the information they're providing the requester, and this is very timely, as Steve just said. We just got this back, 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago.
Okay, and that's great. I needed to understand it because there was
Oh,
some
yeah.
question on it.
Yep, and then the process is from a pre-application, then you go to the interconnection application, which is the $7,500. So they're letting you know whether it's even, because people were complaining they didn't want to put up $7,500 if they didn't even know that anything was available. So that tells you that it's available.
Right.
You put your application in now with the $7,500, and then they tell you what the interconnection costs are going to be.
So we lock this up, right, with 7,500?
Yes.
So to a certain extent, this would be transferable in the event we do not have a deal on solar on that piece of property.
Somebody else maybe.
Somebody else might, from some other area, might say, I need to get access to those circuits. Would we have to release them, or, how does that?
You would have to release it. It's not transferable.
Well, not transferable per se, but we don't have to release it either, right?
Correct.
Yes, we could blackmail.
I'm not,
Is there a
Fancy
fee?
word
Could we
involved.
extract a fee?
I'm only kidding.
yeah, but you're saying it on camera.
I'm only kidding.
Jeez.
And which is
Extort.
why,
We
which is
would
why I
extort the
carefully
money.
answered you, which is why I carefully answered you that you don't have to release it. But
No,
yes, they have to get your,
I think
in order to
I
get
think
that,
there's a
they have to
concern
get your
about,
release.
okay, we're placing a bet, per se, it's sort of, and
Yep.
if it falls through, then that's money spent without any return, and I think what we want to do is be very clear in terms of the ins and the outs and how this process works. I know the Finance Committee had questions
Mm-hmm.
on it.
One of the things we could do, I could do it first thing in the morning, or tonight and send it back to you, would be a little bit of what if. What if you submit it and we get 3 megawatts, what's the potential return to the town? So even at 50.
It's fine.
Yeah,
that
that helps.
works. I mean, I think right now, going beyond 3 right now is probably an open question. I think we're signed
Right.
up for getting 3 done, hopefully.
Right.
What's the likelihood in your mind that this is actually going to come off in this round on the RFQ? Are we gonna be able to are we gonna get bids this time, from your perspective? To the extent, I'm not asking for a certainty, I'm just
Yes,
saying,
because the responses that we've gotten this time have been positive because we have a PPA in place with Blackstone Valley Tech.
okay, so all the other mitigating factors we talked about before we released the second one, they're all seem to have addressed the concerns.
Right, we got rid of all the negatives that we had in the first one,
Yeah.
and we have a significant positive, which is that PPA.
How many of these folks that you've heard from have actually looked at the site?
All of them?
Okay, so they're aware of the current,
They're
the
definitely
legs and
aware.
all that?
Yes,
Correct.
Yep.
So they're not going, so they've seen it, and you still remain fairly positive?
we're going to get responses.
Okay. All right. So the reason I went at this is, I'm just wondering, and this is my last thing I'll say, is, my question to this board is, would we want to recommend passing over this article tomorrow? And if we don't, then I would have to lay a bet that the board's probably going to have to take this to the floor, so we might need a motion on it.
I would say to have a motion ready. I think that, it's a good investment, no matter what we do there, I would have high hopes that, given the location, even if things didn't work out, we didn't get any responses, if our contract comes to an end and we find something else to do over there, then no matter what we do, I would ask that the facilities that do go there put solar on their roofs at least, and any additional that we can get. We don't have to use the full amount that we asked for. We can return whatever we don't need so that somebody else has the ability for it. But I think that no matter what we do on any of this site, I think I would like to see the
Extend it to all 3 addresses?
extend to all 3 addresses, because no matter, I think even if we put municipal buildings on this piece of property on this side, that we would still, again, put solar on the roofs. I mean, again, I live in that section, and when they originally thought my house was not even going to qualify, then they did whatever they do to qualify it, and it was actually 98% was what the return was, whatever the word they use, I forget. So that site is good for sun, obviously, you guys know, or we wouldn't.
Southwest facing, yes.
Exactly, so.
And the other thing which you may get asked tomorrow is that it doesn't make any difference what amount I put in the application or how many addresses, it's a $7,500 fee. So you can't reduce that fee by asking for less or asking for something different. It's a $7,500 fee, so I can add as much in, and it's still $7,500.
Okay.
I think that we cover our bases no matter what.
Yep.
So we as a board agree that this is a worthwhile investment to make the property more amenable to bidders.
Yes.
All right?
Any discussion? I say we go for it. Oh, sorry. Oh, no. All right. Perfect. Thank you.
It's just a reminder, when is the target date for bringing the bids in?
Because of the holidays, I pushed it out to the middle of January, just because I didn't want to get have people saying, well, it was Thanksgiving and Christmas. The timeline for questions is the middle of December.
Okay.
And then the timeline for submissions is the middle of January, and then you have 90 days after that.
Up to 90 days.
Okay.
To make your decision.
What I'd like to suggest is that we get regular correspondence through our office on updates as they come in, at minimum, mid-December, in terms of, based on the milestones you laid out, some level of written update, and,
Sure. Everything comes through Diane and I, so.
No, I know,
and I
we
will-
just circled back on the LOI numbers, right? So that's
Yep.
with FinCom now. We kind of went back and forth on getting copies of the RFP. I just want to make sure we set it up now, say, mid-December, we're expecting something to come through, right?
Absolutely.
All right.
In stereo.
Good.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Discuss status of Misco Road, consider changing the name of Old Road to Upton. I do have this in the works. I'd like to pass it over till the next meeting. I'm just waiting on kind of an okay on something. I have a pretty good idea for that. I'll let you know once I have a green light. Discuss a vendor change for senior center furnace cleanings. Is that why you guys come in? Come on down. How we doing?
Amy Wilson-Kent, Senior Center Director, Jim Negri, COA Chairman.
Hello.
We're here last week at our COA meeting. We came to the conclusion that we should come and speak with you about our desire to keep our current vendor for cleanings for the senior center, which I had given information back in October to Ann Mazar about the fact that the costs that were being proposed were 70% higher than what we were paying. And we were very happy with our current vendor's responsiveness. We don't have a high-efficiency furnace yet. I assume and hope that someday we will. Currently, our furnace is about 23 years old, and we've been watching it. We've been told when it goes, it goes. But in the meantime, until such, funding could be sought or deemed that this was the next project in line, we have an older furnace. We're happy with our vendor. He's very responsive when we do have issues and very cost-effective for us for our small budget. So we're coming to speak to you about this. I did receive an email last Monday, November 4th, from Chairman Tenio. I forwarded it to all my board members. They did respond. I did not realize, and I should have looked at the agenda to see that it was on last Monday's agenda, and you folks voted on it. But we have, for the last 2 months, been going around, and unfortunately, I have been dealing strictly with the Greens Committee, and had not copied. I actually she was coming to your attention, or bringing it to your attention, I was told, Lonnie, so it's kind of where we're at now. We're just, because of the price difference, because of the responsiveness of the vendor that we currently have, because of the age of our furnace, the fact that it's not a high-efficiency furnace, we respectfully request that we can, utilize the vendor that we have been utilizing, a local vendor.
Who's the current vendor?
Phipps, Joe Phipps, Heating.
I don't have an issue with it. I just need to, and the question that I had, huh?
To check the contract, right?
Well, the only question that I had was, and this was the question that I'd had the whole time, and I don't know that I ever got it answered, or I thought that everybody was on the same page, and maybe that was my fault for not touching base with you directly, so I do apologize. That there was a collective amount given to do all furnaces, so I just want to make, I don't care who cleans the furnaces, I really don't. At the end of the day, I think it's, if you guys are happy with who you're using, that's fine. Let me just check with this, the other group to make sure that we can remove one off and still maintain what we have. But again, to me, it doesn't make a difference.
In reading through Ann Mazar's emails, her biggest concern that I saw was to make sure that the furnaces were being properly maintained.
The new ones.
Right.
Yes.
No, even all of them should be, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a problem where it's not one of the newer ones, and that's what we're pursuing, and you had something set up. I don't have a problem with it. We should take a look at the contract and see if the overall cost to the town collectively is actually reduced, right? So that might be the thing, and I understand your perspective from a budget standpoint, but if this contract for all furnaces is a net gain, right, in terms of cost to do all the furnaces versus just your line item, we should actually think about possibly centralizing the budget for furnace cleaning. That way, you're not impact.
Do you know, I think that's a tremendous idea. You mean having one department, like the BOS?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Diane.
Diane,
Pay for our oil, too.
No, but I think that there's an exercise here. One, let's look at the contract. Two, let's make sure that the net overall impact to the town is not impacted, right?
Mhm.
If it's a net gain for the town, then I would pursue kind of pulling it all together so you kind of see that.
I kind
You.
of thought that this whole project was pulling it all together under the auspice of the BOS to make the payment and deal with, because I mean, if we're going to be paying a flat rate.
Right, I would have
they
thought it
would
would have
just
been a single.
Yeah, why have, 4 different accounts to pull it out of,
Right.
or 8 different accounts for that matter, sorry, Diane.
I don't think it was a flat rate. I think there were line items for each furnace, for each department. So I was.
What do you got there?
See, this brings to mind another thing I want to start thinking about. Maybe we can make a decision tonight.
Oh, it is different pricing, but at the end of the day,
Now, look at ours. Ours is an old 23-year-old furnace, but our fee is the same as the library's, who has a new high-efficiency furnace, too.
right, I think that I don't know, that as far as boiler cleanings are concerned, I think it's more of I don't know how different the size is compared to that
that's
one to yours. As far as the physical cleaning of it, I just know that they're messy,
Yeah.
because I used to clean them. So what are you paying right now?
$100.
Yeah, like I said, let me just check with them. I don't have a concern with,
That seems like it's a big hike, from 100 to 170.
well, again, it definitely is. I will agree with you 100%. Sometimes folks, over the years, they do things and they never up their prices, and, they know what they're getting into ahead of time, and they just, or whether or not half of what they do is a donation, that they're donating their time to do it. So, again, I'm sure that, and I'm not suggesting that these people are trying to, rake us over the coals. I know what it costs to come and do my small furnace at home, and I'd like to pay that.
My concern, too, was and I think it's been clarified, I don't know if it's kind of off the record, on the record, that just because if we were to use them, that we wouldn't necessarily have to use them for maintenance or repairs. Is that correct?
Right, this was strictly for cleaning.
Okay.
But at the same time, let us just look into it a little bit further, and like I said, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter to me who cleans as long as it gets.
Because personally, I'd prefer that the person who, that cleans my furnace is the one that's servicing, or vice versa, right now anyways, because he's going to know what he did initially,
Sure.
or he or she, and so, if you could give that consideration.
Definitely check into that,
appreciate it. And this brings to mind another point. Is it possible for there to be a kind of a point person, a liaison from the BOS to the COA, so that we, know who to, kind of go to if we have any questions?
In regards to this, or anything in general?
Anything in general. I think at times, wasn't there, there's
For-
a BOS liaison to the library, one to the schools, things like that?
Yeah, there's,
And not that we,
I'll be it.
you'll be,
Until we get a town administrator, or until my time is up.
Thank you.
I will be the liaison for you guys. So, yeah, if you have anything.
Welcome aboard.
Yeah, thanks. If you guys need me for anything, let me know. You have my number, my email. If
Yes.
you need to call, you can contact me directly anytime. If I don't answer, just leave a message, I'll call you right back.
okay.
I have something else I would like to bring up. It's on a warrant, I think, that Alan will put up the cinder blocks around the furnace for $200.
It was the cost of the block, I believe, right, and whatever, well, the cost of the materials was probably $200 for block and some
Well,
concrete.
the only problem with that, Mr. Tenio, is they have specifications. We had someone go to Milford, and of course, different town, could be a different insurance company. But I would appreciate if the board would send a letter or a fax to our insurance company and get specifications. We contacted, we got no response. And
Ms. Maya?
we don't feel as if it's right to spend money if this thing isn't gonna be right. Because just to put up cinder blocks is not gonna hold back oil for very long.
Well, another thing, too, that was suggested among our board, and I did send it to the BOS office, was could we look at a double-line tank? This is
Right.
oftentimes,
Yeah.
you know, what had been suggested, or it has been used at other companies such as Waters and so forth. So wanted to find out if that could be a, you know, a cost-effective measure. I know that would possibly be more expensive than the cinder block, but if you look at the location of our oil tank in our basement, it is right next to our electrical panel, and we're concerned about, you know, getting in and out of those areas should you need to service something.
I actually have to contact Maya for something else, for some insurance questions that I still haven't done. So I will make it a
A
point to do that
double-line
this week.
tank, could a
and check on
double-line tank be used?
Double-line tank, which I think you can. I'll check on double-line tank and also specifications for retaining wall. Okay.
Thank you, and I'm sorry, that wasn't on the agenda,
No,
but
that's
thank you
okay.
for hearing us, because that is going to be
You're
voted
here.
on tomorrow night at the special town meeting.
Yeah, well, good thing. I mean, if we decide to go a different route, we don't have to spend the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
Perfect. Oh, we'll transfer it to where it belongs at the next one. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Lonnie, also, I went to
Yeah.
do this too for our Veterans Breakfast.
Oh, thank you so much.
Giving out to all the veterans.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
The discussion on contracts made me think of something. Do we want to institute some sort of routing slip process on these contracts before they come for us, for our review and signature? I'm thinking at a minimum, Claudia and FinCom should be reviewing these.
Okay.
You know, does that make sense?
Sure.
All right, we'll implement that then.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
That was quick.
Why is the planning board here?
We thought you guys were lonely, so we came.
Oh. I just don't see anything on here.
Did you, get a Cumberland Farms thing?
We don't have anything on here for Cumberland Farms.
See you later.
Have a good night, guys. Oh, no, wait, it's at the end. After executive session. Could you please wait in the hallway? Good night, guys, thank you. Sorry, I don't,
Yeah, the meeting is up at 11 Uxbridge Road.
oh, yeah. Wait a minute, it is Monday, it is open. Good night, guys, thank you. All right, consider returning, sorry. So you guys are just here to hang out for the rest, right? I don't need to move anything around for you guys. Consider returning Roy Ventures Corp. DBA End Zone Sports Pub, The Outer Limits, 39 Milford Street, Sunday closing time to 1 AM, which it was fine. There was I think, a misunderstanding of how we were reading part of the law. The 12 AM closing time is for liquor stores?
Off premises.
Yeah, to be drunk off premises, so I definitely restore that back to 1 if everybody's in agreement.
I move to return the Sunday closing time of Roy Ventures Corp. doing business as End Zone Sports Pub, The Outer Limits, 39 Milford Street, to 12 a.m. Or 1 a.m.
It's up
Second.
to you. Do you want 12 or
Discussion?
you want, because I wrote it
One.
both ways.
So it was.
It was always 1, and we adjusted to 12 by accident.
All right,
Go back to 1.
second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Consider waiving Class 2 license renewal fee for Native Automotive LLC, 64 Milford Street. This is for the application that we just did, and it's, I mean, it's seriously, I think it was a week ago, and now he's up for renewal, so
Yeah.
I would ask that we waive the fee, if that's okay with you guys.
What's the fee, by the way? What is that fee amount? 75?
So we don't need this one.
I move to waive the Class 2 license renewal fee for Native Automotive LLC, 64 Milford Street.
Second?
Discussion? Just again, as discussed, the fee was just paid, and it's renewal time right afterwards, so. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Discuss stipend for recording and broadcasting meetings?
I would like to say, I would want to pass that over and see what, we're instituting the abatement program,
Okay.
see if that brings it up.
See if it brings any people to the table.
That's a good
Consider changing the FY14 rate of pay for substitute COA van driver. Was this a discrepancy?
I'm not,
Yes, I think when Amy originally requested that rate for the substitute senior van driver, she did not realize that the new rate for FY14 was $14.34.
That's fine.
With the cost of living increase.
so is this what's in the budget?
Excuse me?
Is this in the budget now, or is it something that we need to make sure
Those are
FinCom's?
I believe it is, but I can double check with the chairman to make sure.
If it is, let's just make sure that the finance committee's aware. We need to make an adjustment.
Do we know what the old rate was, by any chance?
$13.79.
You can't, come on, top of your head, yes or no? No. Okay. I move to change Russell Dudley's rate of pay as a part-time substitute van driver to $14.34 pending review by FinCom.
Second?
But has he been paid the $14.34?
I believe he has, because there's
Oh.
enough money for the rest of the fiscal year.
Yeah, I don't know
We're
that.
just changing the motion.
I don't know that we.
It's not a monetary issue.
Well, say it again.
Well, I mean, if we're paying him this much, we're just correcting, you're paying him 14.
Right, but, yeah, the motion.
But if
what
it's
she-
if it's budgeted for 13 something an hour in the budget, then we need to make an adjustment before the end of the year. What I'm saying is that
It doesn't
even though
matter.
there's a discrepancy in the
Gonna do it.
budget, we still have to pay him the $14.34 per hour. So I'm just saying it doesn't.
I'm going to amend my
FinCom
motion. That's what I'm going to amend.
All right.
I move to change Russell Dudley's rate of pay as a part-time substitute van driver to be $14.34.
Second?
Discussion is that we do need FinCom to be notified of this, but I don't know that, it's just a matter that we need to transfer the small amount of funds that we need to. All in favor?
Aye.
Update on town hall carpeting, wallboard, and stone wall repair.
Okay. So I think I sent you the details for the first estimate that we got. He priced it two different ways, one using the rolled carpet, one using the tiles, and the advantage of the tiles is if something gets spilled on it and ink or whatever, you can
Change the
just
tile.
change it out, or if something gets ruined, it can get changed out.
You can do sections rather than a whole.
Right, but it is more expensive. The difference was just about $3,000 more for those tiles. Another concern was there are a couple of areas in town, on the floors, where the subflooring is uneven. In the assessor's office, there's almost like a divot in the floor, and you don't know what the damage really is until you rip the carpet up and look at it.
So there could be some supplements added after.
Right, and the company said that they would work with us to negotiate the price.
What is under the carpet? Is it this type of
I
flooring?
have no idea.
That's another thought, too.
Well,
hard.
I had, something came up, someone asked if we could use CPA funds for it. So I asked Ann, and for the carpet, probably not, because there's no, I mean, it's just a maintenance thing. But she said if there was, a hardwood floor, that we could probably use it as like a historic, bringing that historic piece back to the town hall.
I'd like to look into that. I know that, it's, for instance, when I was doing my house over and I tore the rugs up, I was pretty amazed to find out what was underneath, and it was wasted not being able to see it, so, I ended up refinishing them, and it's much nicer. I mean, I don't know that, there's the whole, it's cold without rug, but we'll put some scatter rugs down for you.
That's not, I don't think you can do scatter rugs in a public building. I don't think that's a safety issue, or maybe just a runner down the
You could do
down the
that
hallway.
after.
But the concern is what's under there, and you don't know it until you've committed to someone to do the work.
Well, I think that, we can probably,
Well, we're going to get the work done some way, somehow, right?
Right.
So
I'd rather
it's
get a price to do, I'd rather get one more price for or 3 more prices to do the actual hardwood if they think it's viable. And because although it might be a little bit more expensive, if we have CPA funds, I think that then that natural look in this building, I mean, this up here looks great. Is this rug considered a hazard? Besides the
Not
fact,
that we were told.
okay, only when it's rolled up, right?
It would, right, only if it's buckling and the floor is sagging underneath it and there are rips in it.
Okay, all right, so let's look at that, I think, because that's a pretty good approach.
Is there a way we can determine if what is that? Because I mean, I think CPA would only work if you're restoring what's already there. So it's not like you can put new hardwood down if it's not, you know what I mean? If it's
In
just-
certain spots, if you had a damaged piece, I would imagine that you would, it's okay to replace.
Restoration,
Yeah.
but if there's
So we
nothing
can
under
determine
there.
what's under there before we commit to anything?
Well, that's what I'm
You gotta
wondering.
pull the
Can
rug
you-
up.
Well, can you rip up
Right.
a piece of it and
Yep.
then get like a doormat-sized rug to put over it?
Well, if you go in like a closet, for example, in the selectman's office, we can go in there and
But
kind of.
that's the closet. How do we know that the rest of the floor?
But you'd have to spot check, I mean.
Yeah.
And we'll just put newspaper down. No, I'm just kidding, I don't know, maybe we pull it up and you just let the original floor be seen, take the whole hallway out. I mean, it can't be bad to the point that it's unpassable, or the rug would be unpassable. But I think we should look into it.
We will.
Yay.
All right, so we're gonna look at what's underneath the carpet, and then we're gonna get bids on hardwood in the event that it seems to be.
Hardwood restoration, right. Because if it's good, you can just refinish it,
Right. Yep.
as you see up here. Like you had nothing else to do today.
Yeah.
I actually
I
have
was
a-
getting bored.
I actually have a couple of people that I'll have reach out to you.
Okay.
To just set up a time to come look. All right?
The other prices that I was trying to get was to repair the stone wall out front that leads up to the ADA ramp. Only one person has gotten back to me so far. The other person I called was too busy, couldn't come out till the spring and look at it or do it. The one quote that I got was $825 for that,
To repair it?
to repair it.
I'll accept a motion to accept that. For $825 to repair that wall. Sounds pretty
Do we have the money?
reasonable to me.
Where are we getting the 825 from?
There might be some in our town hall maintenance
Salaries.
budget, I'd have to look at it.
Well, I mean, I'd say before we make.
I know, I'm only saying, I'm only kidding. We don't need to make a motion right now, but I think that that's a really reasonable bid. And I'd
wasn't
like to
going.
pass it by FinCom to take
There
a look
you
at that and
go,
let
huh?
us know if we have money.
CPC funds for that. It's restored.
It's not historic.
I don't know that wall came later.
And I think I did check with someone on Preservation Mendon, and they said it's not part of the
Yeah, that was
original building.
put in, I believe, not that long ago, as far as
So-
when we did the
Handicap ramp.
ramp and the front door and all that. When we put that nice single door in the front.
So this is actually, I mean, what we just talked about, we run it by FinCom, right? We confirm source of funding with Claudia as well, just to make sure
Sure.
she doesn't have a problem with where we think we're getting the money, right?
Okay, next item. Oh, what, did you have something else, or was that that?
Just give me 1 sec. I'm multitasking here,
No,
which
it's
is not
kickoff
optimal.
time. It's now officially 8 PM.
The other one I was working on was
Oh, it is.
getting a repair done to the wallboard on the way going down to the basement from the front door. There's a
Yes.
big hole in the wall.
Yep.
One additional person was going to look at it, and someone's going to get me the name of another person, and the one quote that I have right now is $810.
I would submit that one to FinCom as well.
Yeah.
And to Claudia for,
But that
Immediate
feels like it
repair.
could be
Same
CPC.
question again, what about the CPC?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that one feels.
probably could be.
Right.
That's the building itself.
we're sending it down to the FinCom and the town accountant. If you guys think we can pay it out of the CPC, let us know. No, I think that's fine. Yeah, that one is well, again, it all comes down to,
Well, I
you have to
think-
use horsehair.
And, but we should also, Pat, if we think it's an option, send it to Ann and have the CPA
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
vote on it as well.
We'd have to wait till the next town meeting, but
Right.
it's been that long anyway, so.
Well, there's one in February.
Well, we could also pay it now and transfer later, right?
Yep.
We could do that.
That's why we're sending it to FinCom, see if FinCom reserves says $800 we can borrow from and then reinstate.
All right.
I say call them, tell them it's approved. Will just said it was all set. Discuss municipal clerk is ongoing, discuss capital expenditure, ongoing, approve meeting minutes for the 28th.
I
and
move
4th.
to approve the regular session meeting minutes of October 28th and November 4th as written.
Second?
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anything else? End zone parking complaint?
I received a complaint on Saturday night that there were roughly 40 vehicles parked on the town property across from the end zone. So I figured I'd bring it up.
The only way I think that we can stop it is to actually block it off again like we had done before, because at
Oh, well,
this-
that's what I was gonna, I thought that'd probably be
Yeah.
what we have to do.
Yeah, only because at this point, we've said that you can't use it. So if people are parking there, it's not, it's one of them gray areas. I don't know that it's responsible, it's up to them to say you can't park there. Whereas, you know, I mean, it's,
Ticket them, couldn't we? Put
we
up a sign
could tell them
saying-
not to park there.
Well, my point is block it off, put no parking. We've told them to cease and desist, and if they choose to use it, then that would be something that, you know, just needs enforcement from public safety, right?
Yeah.
It's also a safety issue at this point. You know, now there's no police there and
Right,
there's
because I
still.
wouldn't imagine they have the detail cop
No,
anymore, right?
there was not.
Okay,
So I just want, it's like, kind of.
Yeah, I would say that, well, again, I think that at this point, we are, safety, yeah, that I wouldn't want to see anybody get hurt, I understand that, but I think that we're, as a town, said no more parking there, that maybe we need to post it, maybe, but again, at least blocking it off. We can just go put the blocks back up. I'm sure Alan has nothing to do, right? He can head back on up there and lock it back up for us, and we'll figure out a way, we'll all go up there and help him.
Do you want me to ask Highway Department to put,
So, yeah, I think what they need is already there, they just need to actually put it in place. I would also ask that, it may cost us a few dollars, but we might want to get some sort of signage just put up there for our own. If he has any no parking signs that he has kicking around the garage, maybe we can just install one at each entrance. All right. Request from Greater Milford Ballet to display a sign.
I have a feeling that this is my first motion. The sandwich board, did it have to do with this one?
Yeah, I think.
Yes,
Yep.
yes. Sandwich board sign.
Number one.
oh, yeah.
7-1.
Well, the common Vic one he was trying to read for the sandwich, because he thought
Okay,
they were
rub
selling
it in.
sandwiches.
Can we move on, please?
No, back to the beginning, Diane. Remember?
This is very specific to 36 inch by 24 inch. Is that specific to the request?
Well, that was the specific request,
Okay.
and I've sent it to the building inspector to see if it conforms with the sign bylaw, and I haven't heard back yet.
So I move to allow, you give me options on these things now. I move to allow a 36-inch high by 24-inch wide sandwich board to be placed in the corner of North Ave, Route 16, and Main Street until December 9th, 2013, pending review by positioning by public safety and confirmation of building inspector for compliance with the sign bylaw.
Second?
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Do a quick executive session. Anybody got anything else?
One more thing, it has to do, just a quick update, I spoke to Alan Gould, MRI, on the recruiting Friday, which is why I couldn't get it on this agenda officially, but if motions, we have 2 motions tomorrow night, and for those of you watching, we have a special town meeting tomorrow night, so please attend. But Articles 4 and 14 have to do with the recruitment, funding the recruitment, and then funding the position. If those pass tomorrow, the advertisement that he drafted and sent to us for our review would be posted as soon as Wednesday. And then he'll be reaching out and contacting each of us directly, probably individually, to start the profile process.
Yep.
Regarding the advertisement, his recommendation is town administrator. So I know he has 2 names in there, and he feels town administrator is more, it's a better title. It potentially brings in candidates that might have been town managers in the past, so he thought it'll open the spigot a little wider for candidates, so I would think we should go with town administrator if and when it passes tomorrow night and we post it on Wednesday. And then the last ask was a single point of contact among the board, because he feels that's going to make things work faster. So right now, Lonnie, he has your phone number, so he feels you are that contact unless we choose to do something differently, so.
Okay.
You know.
I can roll with it for now. If it gets too overwhelming, I'll ask one of you guys to take it.
Okay. All right.
I'm okay for now, though.
Okay, and I'm okay, if
'Cause I'm
you
pretty-
get overwhelmed, you can just call me and Pat, just hand off, I'll run with it.
I might just send that email out tonight when I get home. If you're offering to take it.
Yeah, that's fine, either way.
Because I think his original request, I didn't get back to him in a timely manner.
So either way, I'm happy to do it.
Okay. That's
We
great.
don't have to make that decision until after tomorrow night.
Yep. Oh, tomorrow night, I may be late or not even at the meeting, because it's our annual.
It's half the fun.
Huh?
It's half the fun.
I know, but it's our annual thing we do in Worcester for something, and I'm definitely tied to that till usually 7 o'clock, and then I gotta drive back, so hopefully I'll be back in time for a portion of it.
So quick question, have you both reviewed the executive session minutes of the 28th and the 4th?
Yes.
I believe it did, yes.
So I move to approve the executive session minutes of October 28th as written, not to be released, and November 4th, executive session minutes as written, not to be released. Or,
Yeah, because I
Okay.
think the subject, in my opinion, for what it's worth, can be released, but they're in your packets if you want to quickly look at it, and then you can let me know if I'm right or wrong.
Which one is it?
Do that publicly.
November 4th
November
executive
4th.
session?
I think could be released.
agreed, I mean, we already sent the form out,
Right.
so. So let me restate that motion.
Oh, yeah.
So I move to approve the executive session minutes of October 28th as written, not to be released, and November 4th executive session minutes to be released.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
You know, I would also maybe make it as a note at some point, after we do have a town administrator, that we might have to look back at some executive session minutes that should be released at this point. Just one of those items that has taken a backseat. I would ask that we go into executive session for item number 6, to consider the purchase, exchange, or lease of, or value of real estate.
So moved? Do I have to
We'll
restate that?
reconvene only to confirm a roll call vote is needed.
Second?
Discussion. All in favor?
Goddard, aye.
Tenio, aye.
Real aye.
Good night, everybody. Thank you very much.
Well done, sir.